NBA Now and Then, The Greatest Comparisons. Special episode.
All right, so while we chat about this super anticipated Olympic basketball experience, Maurice, Winston, and I have something special planned. Let's begin with the ultimate starting point for any sports fan before we watch. Maurice, where do you think we should begin, man?
How about the fridge?
Hey, let's take a look inside.
So, guys, I'm looking at the top shelf. I see a couple cans of beer, a couple domestics, a couple imports.
Nah, what else you got? We always have beer.
Yeah, you got any bourbon in that liquor cabinet?
Nah, it's a little too heavy for me.
You got any wine?
You know what? Actually, I do. There's 3 that we can choose from, and we actually have a special guest with us to introduce the 3 options before we start watching the game. Guys, let me introduce you to Michael Jordan from the Kendall Jackson wine family. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Well, thank you, Uriah. Gentlemen, it's just an honor to be here. Thank you kindly.
Yeah. Now, Michael, you have 2 diplomas for wine. There are only 15 people in the entire world that have both. Can you tell us about your experience in the wine industry?
Well, thank you. Yes, I did pass the Court of Master Sommeliers examination, so I'm a Master Sommelier. Also, the Society of Wine Educators has a certified wine educator diploma. There's probably about 300 of each of those in the world, and there's only 15, as you said, that it has both. But, you know, you can't take yourself too seriously. That and $2, I still can't get a good cup of coffee, you know. But I grew up in a restaurant business. My dad had a restaurant, a celebrity restaurant out in California and one in Hawaii, and Italian food. And I grew up from the time I was 11 and did every job in there. Eventually became the chef when I was about 19. And then I told my dad I want to do every job and learn everything. He said, well, if you want to be a waiter, you have to be a busboy first. So I went from chef to busboy. But it was good for me because I did learn every job. And many years before I really got into wine, I was just really into cooking and hospitality and learned the restaurant business. And I've been fortunate to work for some of the greatest restaurateurs and hotels in the country. And just, I can't get out of hospitality. You know, I just love that business, and service industry has been my thing.
Well, we have someone with us today who's actually an expert or a culinary expert in this podcast episode. It ain't me. I'm a professional microwaver myself. But Maurice went to culinary school, and I'm sure you guys will be able to have some connection through this podcast. So for the people listening, this is going to be a combination of wine tasting as well as Olympic hoops talk. So before we officially begin to start sipping wines with the guidance of Michael, we're going to explain how this whole thing works, because a lot of people are unfamiliar with how the seeding of the gold medal game and the bronze game. So we're going to take a quick moment to read an excerpt from an article written by Brian Windhurst from ESPN. So here's how it works. Check it out. The 12 nations competing for gold will be divided into 3 groups of 4 teams for the opening round. Each team plays the other 3 in its group. The teams with the 2 best records in each group will advance to the quarterfinals. Ties are broken by head-to-head competition and then point differential.
The 2 best third-place squads of the 3 groups also advance, which is where point differential also makes the biggest difference. So winning matters, but winning big matters too.
The 8 teams that eventually advance to the quarterfinals that start on August 6th will likely create an unpredictable and talent-rich knockout round.
All right, now that we know how the Olympics work, let's get to the wine. You guys ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's drink some.
Looking forward to it.
I'm honored to present this wine to you folks and to anybody listening. The Jackson family that owns Kendall Jackson and La Crema, as a few of the brands that they actually own, wineries, had made this deal with the NBA, as many of you know, but some may not know that they've signed a contract for a 4-year deal as the singular wine sponsor for the NBA and the Olympic teams. So Kendall Jackson is the official wine sponsor for the NBA. Oh, this just couldn't be more exciting, especially right now.
Yes.
And then La Crema is the wine sponsor for the WNBA. And wow, I got to tell you, well, just this last year, things couldn't be more hot than they are right now. And I think it's a great time to infuse a little wine because, after all, we're talking about the wine league here with so many great wine lovers and aficionados that realize how wine can really be a great enhancement to your life, keep you at the table a little longer with your loved ones. And I just can't think of very many things that could make a great basketball game any better than maybe one of the most delicious things to drink you ever tasted while you're watching the game.
Amen to that.
All right.
Yeah,
I like
there
it.
you go.
So we're going to start with a Chardonnay, and this is the Jackson Estate. It's the pretty much, I guess you would call it, the highest level of wines that Kendall Jackson produces, and they're from very small vineyard sources in specific places, selected for their super high quality fruit, made in smaller amounts. And this particular Chardonnay is from a place actually in Mendocino County called Anderson Valley. Mendocino County, we kind of got to move the weed out of the way to plant the grapes up there. It's been kind of an infamous area called the Green Triangle in California for years and years, but it's an amazingly cooler area as far as climate. It's got the right soils, and it faces to the sun the correct way on a steep slope. This is one of the Chardonnays that's planted up at the highest altitude of any Chardonnay in the country. It's about 2,000 to 2,200 feet up on a mountain called Sable Mountain. So it's called Sable Mountain Vineyard. Okay. It is the 2020 vintage, and certainly because, as a nod to our 2020 team, right? Yeah. And guys, LeBron and the guys that were there in 2020 and certainly still hanging in, but that spawned the bubble, during COVID and Carmelo and JJ Redick and CJ McCollum and like TJ, these guys were all in the bubble. They wanted better wine. That's how we ended up starting this thing, is because one of the guys at Kendall Jackson said, hey, let's send them some good wine because we heard they don't like the wine in the bubble there very much. Okay. And they're drinking stuff they're not thrilled about, Give us the good stuff. So we sent them a pallet of wine and a couple little 1-minute videos of me talking about each one of these wines so that they could relate to it and enjoy, learning a little bit about where it's from, how it's made, but not too scientific. And man, these years later, NBA contacts, Jackson family, hey, what do you think about doing a sponsorship? And here we are. So this Chardonnay, as I digress, if you spin it around in the glass and you coat all the sides of the glass, it increases the surface area that the wine is on. And as the alcohol starts to evaporate, it concentrates the smell a little bit just for us so we can smell it a little easier. That's one of the reasons we spin that wine. It's not just so you look cool at the cocktail party. We spin it around, for good reason. And then it leaves these, what we call legs, the little streaks coming down the sides of the glass. As you smell the glass, I like to smell the very top first, like right at the rim of the glass and just slightly above it, because those little more delicate aromas and pretty kind of floral notes and things exist at the top of the glass. And then as you put your nose down in the bowl, the deeper, heavier fruit aromas are down in the bowl. But if I put my big old nose right in there first, I might miss a lot of what is at the top.
Thanks for that insight.
You don't get so much just apple and citrus like you do in a lot of Chardonnay. This one actually has some pears flavor and the flavor of nectarine or peach, along with the apple and citrusy notes that are in there. But boy, take a sip and it just melts your mouth.
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, this is great education, but I want to get down to the sip. Yeah, cheers. Absolutely. Cheers.
Yeah.
That's good. I love pears, so that's you hit me with the pears.
Yeah,
you can taste some kind of pears in there, right? Wow. It's very apparent. You get that? And no, sorry.
That's smooth though. That's smooth.
It is smooth,
and it has a long aftertaste that's delicious, and we call that in the wine world the finish. This wine has a long finish. You set the glass down, man, you can taste it almost a minute afterwards.
Yeah, you can. It's a lingering flavor. Now, Michael, let me ask you this: a lot of people think that wine is all about grapes, but it has a lot of other fruits in it as well, right?
Well, actually, there are many wines that are made out of other fruit, right? But if you use just the word wine, you are absolutely saying it's grape wine. If you call it strawberry wine or raspberry wine or choke cherry wine or tomato wine, because we need something to drink. If there isn't anything around, we'll find something to ferment. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
We will, yeah.
Nice. And all across this great nation of ours, we've got different states that are famous for not grapes, but other kinds of fruit and other kinds of wines. It's a cool fact that one of the first appellation that was certified by the government in this country was Augusta, Missouri. Not Napa, California.
Wow.
Missouri?
What?
Wow,
Missouri.
I would never think, yeah.
Fruit wines.
Yeah.
They are famous for fruit wines. So Missouri was the first guy to get a legal boundary that they could write on the label of a bottle.
Never knew that.
But in California was the second one, of course. But anyway, if you just call it wine, we're talking about grapes to the question. But there's, as I said, so many different wines. And if anybody with a sweet tooth, you want to get yourself some raspberry wine. Oh, man.
Okay.
Oh,
I've had blueberry wine. I've never had raspberry wine.
Yeah, blueberry too. And there's all kinds of other fruit. Different cultures make wines out of different things. Even a lot of people make tomato wines back east.
Winston's holding up, what is that, a blueberry?
Yep.
Yeah. Holding up a blueberry.
Winston
came prepared. Can you show him your plate, Winston?
He has like a little charcuterie board going on.
Yes. I love it.
Oh, baby. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, man. But you leave that blueberry on the table long enough, it'll ferment itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Michael, speaking of different cultures, we're actually going to flip over to a little basketball talk right now. That was exciting. I really learned a lot just from that introductory wine, that Chardonnay from Kendall Jackson. But let's talk a little bit of U.S. or Team USA hoops. If we're thinking about Team USA, LeBron, KD, Steph Curry, and all the other stars that are part of this historic team, I'll go to Maurice first. If you were to pick the biggest threat to Team USA in these 2024 games, who would you say, Maurice, is the biggest threat to the U.S.?
I'm going to have to go with France. They got two bigs. Bigs was an issue for Team USA 4 years ago, and they made up for it with Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo.
Right.
But France still has two really good stalwarts, the multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert.
Right.
And a rookie sensation, Victor Wembanyama.
Okay. Winston, what about you? Who's the biggest threat?
For the biggest threat for me, I think we saw in the exhibition game. Is that correct here?
Showcase
Against South Sudan. It was a great game. The USA almost lost that game. So for me, I'm on the fence of it could be any team,
right,
any given Sunday, so to speak. I say they ought to be on their toes. This is
okay.
Team.
So we got Sudan, we have France. Michael, what do you think? Who do you think is the biggest threat to the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with France.
Okay.
I was able to actually see that exhibition game against Canada. Yeah, I mean, we started slow there, and that was the first one. But, boy, they found their momentum and their smooth about halfway through, and it was really an exciting game to see LeBron and Curry and these guys working together. It was really exciting.
I tell you, the highlights, I just get chills seeing a lob thrown from Steph Curry to LeBron James. There's something just completely fascinating about that connection. And I'm actually going to agree about the whole Canadian aspect because they have so many NBA players on that team, including MVP caliber candidate SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, by the way, is one of our feature episodes, if people don't know out there, and Jamal Murray, NBA champ, a great collegiate athlete at Kentucky. So I would say Canada is the greatest threat. But the bottom line is, I think the common theme that we all can agree with is that this is not 1992, where in those games, there were maybe a handful of NBA players outside of the U.S. Today, I think there's almost 60, maybe even more. So if Team USA thinks they're just going to waltz through and get the gold, they better think again. I mean, we're great, but no one's afraid of this team. Now let's go back to Michael, because we have another wine that he wants to explain and share with us. So go ahead, Michael.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to introduce this wine. And now we're going to go to 2016, in honor of our great 16 team, Carmelo Anthony and DeMarcus, Harden and Barnes and Kevin Durant. What a great showing. But I want to say this to follow what you had just said, is that now the parity that's out there is going to make it that much sweeter when we win. Okay. Just saying. Yeah. Because of the talent that's all across the globe at this point on these teams. Well, so we're pouring a Pinot Noir, and that is a grape, and it makes a red wine that's really kind of smoother and silkier to the texture, and it's not really big and super dry. So it's a really enjoyable red wine that could be an entry-level red wine for lots of people that haven't tried them yet. It's got a kind of almost like a perfume in a way of great fruit that you can smell, but also it tends to have a little bit of a floral note in Pinot Noir all the time. It's a characteristic thing that it's like rose petals or maybe some violet kind of smell. It's not overly floral. It doesn't smell like perfume, but it's the perfume of the wine that we're talking about. The bouquet is all the aromas of the fruit and the oak and everything that went into making the wine coming out of the glass, and then you smell that. The aroma word signifies the smell of just the fruit that's in the wine. That's how folks in the wine world discuss it. So you can smell the fruit in the wine, but you can also smell other things. Like I'm saying, it smells a little bit like cedar. It smells a little bit like those rose petals. And it also really has this beautiful kind of earthy smell, but it's not dirt. It's not dirty. It's a clean, earthy kind of smell. It would take the edge off something that would be really strong. Now, when you taste this wine, and I want to propose a toast to everybody, take a nice sip of this wine and cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
By the way, my swirl game needs work. I'm looking at Michael. He's got it. He's like the Michael Jordan of wine tasting. The way he's like, I'm like.
For those of you that are, haven't done that, set it on the table and just make it go in a little circle. Try to get the wine going around a little bit around the glass, just real gently at first.
Gotcha.
Then you give it a little more, tighten it up a little more, get that wine going up a little bit higher in the glass around the sides. But if you do it on the table, it's real easy.
It's a lot easier
in the beginning. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But when you're doing that, that's what's beautiful. Now, when you smell the glass, it gives you a little more intensity of the smell, so you can try to identify some of those flavors.
You know what you can't do with like the whole spinning thing? You can't do that with beer. You don't want to do that with beer. No. It's going to be a mess.
No. And don't do it with champagne either.
No,
because
not.
It took a lot of work to get those bubbles into the wine. And when you spin it around, they all come out immediately. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, so on this Pinot Noir, we're talking about a wine from a place in Napa Valley called Carneros. And that is the southernmost place right along the San Pablo Bay at the north end of San Francisco Bay. And it's one of the coolest climate areas of all of Napa because it's so close to the bay. It gets all that fog and cold wind coming off of the bay all day, all night, every day, keeping this a much cooler wine region than even up in Napa Valley, in the center of the valley there. It's quite a bit warmer. Certain grapes love to grow in a cooler climate, and Chardonnay and Pinot Noir are two. They want a nice, long ripening season at a cool temperature. They don't want a big heat spike and it getting real hot real fast and the grape ripens quickly. We don't want that. We want a long ripening season to get the grape physiologically ripe, like phenolically ripe. That means like when you finally pick that thing and you make it into wine, wow, you can taste layers of flavors in the wine because it had so much flavor in the fruit. You don't know that when you pick the fruit. It tastes good. It's sweet.
That Pinot was delicious, by the way. I love a good Chardonnay, but that Pinot was so smooth. My question to you, Michael, real quick. You mentioned the green triangle earlier. Are the Pinot grapes we just tasted, are those from the same green triangle, or is that like a different region?
Actually, we do grow some Pinot Noir up on that same mountain where that Chardonnay came from in Anderson Valley, and it's amazing for Pinot Noir, that Anderson Valley.
Wow.
But this is down. Pinot Noir can grow in several coastal regions of California, but it loves being close to the ocean or close to a cool temp of fog and wind and keeping it nice and cool, like Sonoma County, A+, Russian River Valley, and Santa Barbara County, Monterey County. These are the cooler coastal areas where you get fog and that. In California, we call it May gray and June gloom. It's not good for the beach, but it's good for the grapes.
Absolutely.
That cold, foggy air coming in from the ocean keep these grapes nice and cold for a long ripening season, and that's why these wines are so intense and delicious.
Very well.
Absolutely.
Now, Michael, two things. One thing that I noticed was the color. It had like a plum look to it.
Yes.
Especially when the sun hits it from the glass, I could definitely tell.
Oh, yeah. And when you're dining with someone, that you like a lot, and maybe you don't know them that well yet, you're going to get more familiar, and it's exciting and romantic.
There you go.
The glow of the candle on the table, when you're spinning that glass and you see that fire of the candle shining through the wine, it gives you this translucent ruby color that is so beautiful. It's romantic, man. So, I'm glad, Maurice, you said that you can enjoy the way the wine looks. In fact, we can enjoy the sense of sight because wines can be very beautiful. We just explained why. You got the sense of smell, the sense of taste, the sense, touch. The only thing you can't really do is hear the wine. But if you listen really closely, that's why we clink our glasses together and say cheers.
Yeah, the clink.
So you can enjoy all five of your senses with a good glass of wine.
I was doing research on this, and I'm in the culinary industry, but I am fairly new to wines. The one word I didn't really understand what it was, and I'm glad you're here to explain it. Can you explain what a broad tannins is?
When we're talking about you're discussing tannin, and that is a component in the grape. Well, I'll try to keep it brief because I tend to talk way too long about stuff. So tannin is something they used to get out of wood from trees to tan leather. It dries it out because it's this drying effect is really what we're talking about. And so there's tannin in the seeds of the grape. Oh, those are bitter tannins. You don't want to bite on the seed. No. There's tannins in the stems. Sometimes they put a little bit of stem in the tank with the grapes, so they got something to smash them up against. But there's also tannin in the skin of the grape, and where the color and the pigments are. That's the good tannin we want to get into wine. Now, tannin is in Cabernet Sauvignon and things like Syrah. Thicker grapes have higher tannin. The wine is drier, like a Barolo or Barbaresco from Italy. Man, those wines and mountain Cabernet Sauvignon can be very drying on your palate. Just dry, suck all the moisture out of your mouth. But this Pinot Noir, the tannin is very silky and soft and smooth. It's not so intense and not so drying. That's why this Pinot is really, I say it's a really good, not beginner wine, but entry-level red wine that people will enjoy. And wow, I tell you what, people get so hooked on Pinot Noir, it's like Pinot heads unite because of the smoothness of Pinot Noirs and the beautiful flavors, and it's easy to drink, and it goes with lots and lots of food. It's a great wine to enjoy with friends. Now, if you're having a big steak, we're going to enjoy a Cabernet Sauvignon later, and we can talk about those broad, mouth-coating, drier, velvety tannins that will be on that Cabernet Sauvignon. But what a great question, Maurice. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, let's get into some Olympic talk here. I'm going to start with you, Michael, on this one. Who do you consider the top 3 players on Team USA right now?
Ooh.
The guys are going to help bring home the medal, the gold.
Man. That's a hard choice because we got so many great guys, and depending on like who your team is, right? You're going to love your player from your team, but I mean, come on. We look at who scored what so far. Okay, you got LeBron, Anthony, and Stephen Curry, man. I mean, like 102, 103, 109 points. But then you can't, just because they score points, the team is setting them up for that. And one of my favorite guys, who I think is some of the glue that's going to keep this team together and really help us win, okay, Drew, man. Drew
Holiday.
Drew
Awesome.
Holiday.
Yeah.
We were with his dad at the game, at the exhibition game in Las Vegas. We did a dinner there with Grant Hill, and Mark Spears, and a couple of other real legends, were there too. Jackson family did the dinner before we went over to the game to watch the game. Man, it was it was like a peak of life experience for me.
Wow.
I was sitting with those guys and listening to them talk. And I got to describe and talk about the wines that were being served in the dinner. So it was a huge honor for me. And they all had a lot of fun because, MJ was there. But Drew's dad said, "Hey, I had to show up early because I heard Michael Jordan was going to be here. No offense." But it wasn't the guy I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Uriah, same question to you. Who's the top 3 players of Team USA?
First thing I want to say is that's a great pick. Drew Holiday, Michael, is, I think, one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA. Now, because we're on the East Coast, you're West Coast, we're all Sixers fans, by the way. We've suffered through a lot, but we still have hope. We got PG in the offseason. We got Andre Drummond. But to start the process, which got us Joel Embiid, who did we trade away right after he became an all-star? Drew Holiday, who, I'll be honest, not just a great scorer, great ball handler, amazing defender. I've always loved how he can finish at the rim, left or right. And I like that point. I never thought that he could be such a critical component of their winning. I'm going to say, well, LeBron. You got to go with LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Steph Curry's shooting is really paramount because he stretches the floor. But I'm going to say Anthony Davis, and here's why. When you look at what he does on the perimeter on offense, interior defense, he can do it all. And when he's healthy, when he's motivated, he's an all-star, he's a champion. He is just, to me, I think, one of the most critical players for Team USA. So those are the 3 players I go with.
Winston?
For me, it's kind of similar to you guys. I'm just thinking about all the other Olympic games in the past and how those players interact. But the interaction that I'm seeing on this team already with Edwards, LeBron, and Steph Curry, I mean, that's got me right there. So
Ant-Man.
it's the energy alone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick those 3 guys. They bring all the energy to this team. I think everyone else is going to fit right in around that, and they're just going to make the team special this year. I think those 3 guys.
Anthony Edwards brings a swagger. Like when LeBron hit that game winner, I guess it was against Sudan, and he's flexing his shoulders, and you see Anthony Edwards doing the same thing.
Yes.
That was a moment. I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now.
Man.
That was a moment that
Definitely.
it's kind of like maybe a passing of the torch. But yeah, that's a good grab, Winston, Anthony Edwards.
You got to love this, and the one person we haven't mentioned yet is Coach Kerr. I mean,
Sure.
this man has a behemoth job, okay, trying to maintain the chemistry with these great talents, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I see, though, is that the big talents that, of course, would have an ego are really kind of keeping themselves in check and trying to have chemistry. And as they start to really gel, this is going to be an exciting year. And I don't want to be comparing them to anybody from the past or anything, but hey, we could have a big, wonderful surprise of how amazingly well this team can play and become a historical team for the future, for sure. Don't you think?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Now we have another wine, a third wine that Michael is going to present to us, and I can't wait.
Oh, baby. Now we're excited. And my friends at Jackson Family were also excited when we were picking out the 3 wines we're going to use here. And we've decided to go with the 2012 Cabernet Sauvignon and honor our 2012 team from Freemark Abbey Winery. So now the first wine was from Jackson Estate Chardonnay. The second wine was La Crema. That's the team of the wine of the WNBA now. And it couldn't be a better match, those two. But this one is called Freemark Abbey. This is actually the first winery ever started by a woman. And that was back in 1886. I'm talking girl power to the max, man. It was a big deal. Big deal back then, 1886, for a lady to open a winery in Napa Valley. I mean, we were still driving cars with wooden wheels, okay? Just saying. And horses. It was a tough time. But San Francisco was being built, and so they were sending wine and fruit and food and lumber down from Napa and Sonoma County. And this amazing winery became famous. This is Cabernet Sauvignon, and it actually is that grape, Cabernet Sauvignon. It has 4 other grapes blended into it. Before I start talking about it, let's take a taste. And while you're enjoying it, I'll just describe it, because there's a little bit to talk about in this wine. So let's take a sip. Now, we've got some aged wine here, 2012, all right? 12 years in the bottle.
Wow.
So it's a red wine with full body, big, intense flavor. And it does have some of that drying effect, but the tannin that's in this wine that dries your mouth has really softened up quite a bit over the last 12 years to create a perfectly well-balanced intensity of fruit, flavor from the oak, intensity of the tannin and the other compounds that are in the grape that affect not how you taste, but how your mouth feels, right? Acidity in wine tends to help your mouth juice up and cleanse your taste buds, so you taste the next bite of food even better. Wow, that's one of the magic things of wine. The tannin dries your mouth out and needs a little bit of fat content of some sort to balance it out. That's why big red wines go good with things like steak or cheesy pasta like Alfredo sauce or something. You can get fat not just from animal proteins, but olive oil and cheeses and other kinds of things have fat content. Big, dry red wines. You add a little cheese or a little olive oil or some, grilled ribeye. It tames that big red wine down and goes with it just perfectly. This has 5 grapes, not just Cabernet Sauvignon, but a little bit of Merlot, a little bit of Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and a grape called Malbec. These were the 5 red grapes from Bordeaux in France that they have always traditionally blended together, because we found that if you add these other grapes to the Cabernet Sauvignon, it makes the wine more complex, just more delicious and drinkable. In California, though, we have several wineries that make 100% Cabernet Sauvignon without blending. Okay. And those are incredible too. But this is a California wine made in a traditional French style, and it's been around a long time and is one of the very favorites. Also, the vineyards at Freemark Abbey were a couple of the original vineyards of Napa, and grapes were cut from there and planted in some of the most famous vineyards that we all know their names actually came from the Freemark Abbey vineyards, like Boucher and Sycamore. And so super, like Tocolon and all these amazing vineyards now, the grape cuttings came from this original guy. Wow. So it's kind of cool for that history. And we've got a lady winemaker there now after we had a gentleman there for 40 years that really created and developed this beautiful house style of Freemark Abbey in Napa. Yeah, so cheers to that. Thank you for having us on.
And Michael, thank you for the insight on the history of this, the Freemark Abbey. And then you also answered one of my questions. We talked about this on our last segment, pairing the wine with the food. You mentioned that before I had the chance to ask you. And you mentioned steak. So I love steak. Yeah. So anything else that you think you could pair this with?
Oh, yeah. So pasta Alfredo. And if you're into the Italian thing, if you can ever get fresh truffles shredded onto it, if you're traveling, the earthiness of that kind of mushroom called a truffle with this kind of wine just goes so perfectly together. If not, here are a couple of my favorites. I love a rack of lamb. I'd cook a lamb chop any kind of way, grill it, fry it, broil it under the grill or on the grill on barbecue, pan fried. It's all good because lamb and this kind of wine goes really good together. Any kind of steak that you can imagine, but also cheeses are perfect. Many cheeses go so well with Cabernet Sauvignon.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And that's going to lead us to our last NBA or Olympic question. What are our Olympic medal predictions?
Well, obviously I'm going to say America's going to get gold. I mean, but besides that, silver, like I said, France, I think we've all mentioned France, Canada, they're going to be two of the top contenders for medal. So I'm going to go with France, silver, and Canada with the bronze.
Okay, it's a good choice. I like it. Michael, you're shaking your head. What do you think?
I agree with the chef implicitly, 100%.
Okay.
Those are my picks too.
Okay.
I'm with you, Maurice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then Uriah, what's your predictions?
Well, I'm going to go no-brainer. Team USA. So much talent. Those guys are definitely going to turn it up a notch once they play against Serbia on Sunday morning. So I'll go USA with the gold. I'll go Canada with the silver, just because I'm a huge SGA and Jamal Murray fan. As far as the silver, as far as the bronze, I think I might go Serbia. Not just because Nikola Jokic is former MVP, NBA champion, arguably the best center in the NBA. But I was watching this when the U.S. team's playing against them, and we won, but it's a showcase game. But number 30 for Serbia, I don't remember his name, but number 30 was like dropping threes like Steph Curry. So
yeah, he was. Yeah.
I like Serbia, so I'll go out on a limb and say Serbia for the bronze.
All right. Like all the picks, guys, pretty good. For me, I agree with Maurice and Michael, but you never know. Serbia could surprise us, as Uriah mentioned. So thank you guys for those mentions.
And real quick before we move on, Michael, that Pinot, wouldn't it go well with a braised beef?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Any kind of like stew.
Yeah.
You know, Pinot Noir also goes really well with salmon. And people think, oh, you have to have white wine with fish.
Ooh.
No. Pinot and salmon up in the Pacific Northwest. They grow Pinot Noir up there in Willamette Valley in Oregon. The salmon is coming out of that same river right there. You know, when it grows together and it goes together. But the thing with red wines, don't put any lemon on the fish if you're drinking red wine. Okay? If you want lemon on the fish, you got to have it with a Chardonnay. Is okay. White wine is going to work just fine. But things like vinegar and lemon juice don't work really well with red wines. But Pinot Noir loves mushrooms. Mushrooms love Pinot Noir for those folks that are vegetarian or vegan, you know. So, I mean, any kind of mushrooms cooked any kind of way with Pinot is good. And also, pigs and Pinot loves each other, too. So if you don't have any dietary restrictions,
pigs and Pinot.
have yourself a pork chop or some beautiful carnitas tacos with Pinot or anything pork. Yeah, man, even like ham. Oh, just cook a ham with the pineapple on it, you know, in the oven with Pinot Noir. Oh, my God. Home style. Delicious.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Wow.
Sounds delicious.
Well, it looks like we've come to the end. I wish we had a fourth bottle, but
it was really good listening to you, Michael. It's always great to hear an expert talk with passion like you do about wine.
Thank you.
The passion for every sip and every explanation that you reveal to us about the different pairings, the background, the history, like Winston mentioned. Look, the WNBA with La Crema and the NBA with Kendall Jackson, they are starting a trend. And I think it's smart. I think Maurice mentioned it in our previous wine episode where I think Maurice said, what would you rather have as an athlete, get bloated with beer or have a really digestible drink like wine? I think it's a no-brainer. I think the NBA was brilliant for making this merge in this partnership. And I can't wait to get some more of this Pinot. So
I love you for that, man. I love you for that. I think it's a perfect pairing. Both are perfect pairings, right? And what a lot of folks don't know about Jackson family, it's a family-owned thing. There's a family of farmers that love the land. They would never put poisons or chemicals or anything bad on the land or any funky chemicals in the wines. It's not happening, man. These folks want to protect their land for the next 1,200 years if they can
Okay.
make it that long, like they have done in Italy and France and the old world. And in those places, they're still growing grapes for 1,000 years in the same spot. We want to do that here in America too, but we got to protect the land and the resources to be able to do that. And this family puts their money where their mouth is. And I just have never worked for a better company in my entire life. And I got an old, long history of working for people, and companies and restaurants. I love these folks because they make good wines for us all to enjoy.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you've been a pleasure to have on our show. We look forward to sharing this episode with you, and feel free to share it with all the people in your network. And this was a special episode, a bonus episode. Don't forget, season 2 will resume for NBA Now and Then, the greatest comparisons, in October when the NBA season restarts. As of right now, it's all about the Olympics. So that being said, we're going to get ready for our next game and probably another glass of wine. So This is Uriah on behalf of NBA Now and Then. We want to thank Michael Jordan, obviously Maurice and Winston with us. We'll check you guys out next time. Take care.